Hi, my name is Jeannie Lauren Dowden for Conduit News, and today, once again, we have Dr. Patrick Wolf joining us. As many of you know, he is a school choice expert, and he's located right here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which we're so thankful for. Always really appreciate you coming into the studio to talk to us. We're walking through several very popular myths that are often talked about regarding school choice. And so today, I wanted to talk to you about school choice and the myth or the saying that it hurts students with special needs and that it doesn't help them. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, well, that would be a big surprise to all the parents of students with special
Wow.
needs who are participating in private school choice programs across the country. There are 21 choice programs in the United States limited just to students with special needs. So you have to have a disability in order to participate. So that represents more than a third of the private school choice programs are only for kids with disabilities. And when we look at the enrollments in those programs and compare them to the overall enrollments in school choice, that means that more than 17% of the kids participating in choice programs are in those programs limited to kids with special needs. If we look at the public schools across the country, 12% of kids in public schools have disabilities. So private school choice programs enroll a higher proportion of kids with disabilities than traditional public schools do.
Why then is it repeated? Why is that myth repeated so often? Before you tell us why we know that and how do we know that, why is that myth one that's constantly repeated?
There is this sense, in fact, I was, when the constitutionality of school choice was first debated back in 2002, a Supreme Court case, Zellman versus Simmons-Harris. I lived in New York, or in Washington, D.C. at the time. I was at Georgetown University. So I went down to the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
And I was outside the courthouse after the case was debated. And a representative from the American Civil Liberties Union came to the microphone and he said, private schools don't enroll students with disabilities. He made this blanket claim that no private school anywhere has ever enrolled a student with a disability, which we know is just absolutely wrong. Now, not all private schools are equipped to serve all types of students with special needs. That's true. But not all public schools are equipped to serve all students with special needs either. So I think, opponents of school choice just really kind of use this myth to criticize choice programs that disproportionately serve kids with disabilities.
It almost seems a bit of fear-mongering.
I think so. And there are some cases where kids with disabilities, with very severe disabilities, need to be served in the district-run public schools. They have more resources that they can commit to them. But a lot of times parents would prefer that their child be in a private school that has a customized education program that serves that child.
So do we know how well these private schools and school choice programs are able to benefit students with special needs?
We do, from the largest and longest running program for kids with disabilities. That's the McKay Scholarship Program in Florida.
Okay.
It was launched in 2001. And so it's more than 2 decades old.
Wow.
So when we look back, before the McKay program was launched in Florida, students with disabilities in Florida scored 4 points lower than the national average for kids with disabilities on 4th grade math achievement. So Florida kids with disabilities lagged the national average in performance. In 2022, Florida students with disabilities scored 20 points higher in 4th grade math than the national average for kids with disabilities.
That's amazing.
20 points. That represents 3 grade levels of extra achievement in math for 4th graders with disabilities in Florida. It's just amazing, the surge in achievement for these kids with disabilities.
So how do they achieve that?
They achieve it through choice.
Okay.
And what choice has brought about in Florida is a bunch of new models of private schools to serve kids with disabilities. Some of them focused on kids with autism. Some of them focused on kids with severe emotional disturbance. Some of them focused on kids with reading problems like dyslexia. And so choice creates an environment where new models can emerge to serve special kinds of kids, and it creates incentives for those new models to emerge. So you have opportunity and you have motive. And that's what choice has really brought to kids with disabilities in Florida.
And I think if for anyone who's just thinking about it, just kind of a no-brainer thought, it makes sense. It makes sense that if you have a child with special needs, or they have some type of particular there's something that they need to focus on and make sure that they get in their education, it only makes sense that a parent should be able to say, you know what, we're not able to get it here, so let's look at some other options. And it gives them that freedom to do what's best for their kid.
That's right, Jenny. I mean, school choice is about customizing the educational experience for the needs of the child. And in no case is that more relevant and more important than with a kid who has a disability, who needs that kind of customization.
Right. Okay, so talk to us. Let's hone in on Arkansas. What does that look for Arkansas? I know that in 2015, there was the Succeed Scholarship Program that was implemented, but what does it look like now here in Arkansas?
The Succeed Scholarship Program is still a small pilot program. It currently serves 780 students.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, but that's 780 students whose parents feel that their special needs can best be served in a private school of choice as opposed to the traditional public schools. So that's 780 success stories. We don't have any actual aggregate data on the performance of these students because it's still such a small program. Hopefully the enrollment numbers will reach a point where we can do those kinds of studies. But right now, we just have a lot of testimonials from parents about the difference that access to school choice has made for their children with disabilities. So it's a start.
It is a start. So for Arkansas parents who are interested in that Succeed Scholarship Program, what would you suggest they know or do?
So, you can find it on the internet, Succeed Scholarship Program in Arkansas. It's administered by the Reform Alliance, which is based in Little Rock, but it's a statewide program, and qualified students can enroll in any private school across the state. The scholarships are worth about $6,500. And basically then if the student qualifies, because they have to have a diagnosed disability and have an individualized education plan or a 504 rehabilitation documentation. Then they qualify for the program, and it's then up to the parent to find a participating private school in the state that's a good fit for their child.
One last question before I let you go. Looking at that program and then the private schools that we have here, in an effort to maybe get more private schools involved, I don't know what the number is there, but do you see any hindrances or regulations that could be worked on or improved or removed to help kind of bridge that barrier between maybe parents and the private schools so that they could be enrolled?
So the Succeed Scholarship Program does not have onerous government regulations, which is good. I mean, we're putting our trust in parents to make decisions that are in the best interest of their children. And parents are really good at that. So that's a good thing. Now, the scholarship amounts of $6,500 are pretty modest when you think about the resources necessary to effectively serve a child with moderate to severe disabilities. So that's the main limiting point at this point, is the scholarship ceiling amount of $6,500. So private schools that are confident they can serve students effectively, students with disabilities effectively, with the resources of $6,500 a year, they are participating, and there are dozens of them throughout the state that are stepping up and saying, we want to serve these children.
I love that.
Now, the students, the children with the most severe disabilities, those resources aren't adequate to truly serve them. So most of them are staying in the traditional public schools. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see the program enhanced by having different tiers of resources for the students with more severe disabilities, so that would open up more opportunities for a customized private school education for kids who currently, that's not possible through the program.
Anything else that you want to add that we didn't cover before we let you go?
No, I mean, it's funny. As we suggested, folks throw this myth out that private school choice programs don't serve kids with disabilities, and they are so well designed for kids with disabilities that they are one of the largest and most important constituencies served by school choice.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your insight and look forward to having you back on again soon.
Sounds good, Jenny.